Hi Virgo, welcome to your February 2020 Astrology 3030 bonus love reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, just check out the description of the video for more details on that. As far as what we have in front of us, this is why I call it a bridging the gap spread, and the way it works is the cards on the left side represent your energy toward the connection with your main love interest. Cards on the right side represent their energy toward the connection. These are the past energies, present energies, future energies. Once we get through those, we'll actually pull some oracle cards to some additional insight. That's where the bridge and the gap dynamic comes into play. And as far as the decks being used, on the left side we have the Lover's Path Tarot, on the right side we have the Tarot of Sexual Magic. And since this is a general reading, if you feel like the energies are flipped, where you feel like this is more like your energy on the right and this is their energy on the left, then definitely trust that as well. Now, I do have to say, you guys got a lot of cards. So I don't know if that's indicative of the fact that we're going to have a Mercury retrograde in your opposite sign, full moon in your 12th house, so there could just be like a fog in general. But we'll see if we could make this into as little of a mess as possible. So let's get started. Past energy on your side. We got Sacrifice, 8 of Staves, and 10 of Staves. So Sacrifice is the equivalent of the Hanged Man card, which I view as Pisces energy. 8 of Staves and 10 of Staves, those are both Sagittarius energies there. So, a few different ways I could see this playing out. For one way that I could see this playing out is some of you might have actually had to leave your connection with your person in the past because you might have had some family matters to attend to. And if that's the case, it looks like that might be coming to an end soon, since we do see the 10 of Staves. So, given that we progress from the 8 to the 10, could just be saying that that's about to come to an end if it hasn't already come to an end for you guys. So that's one way I could definitely see that playing out. For others of you might have actually had to move, since this, again, this 4th house matters, and if we consider that Sagittarius is the natural ruler of the 9th house, you guys might have actually had to move away, possibly to a long distance away from this person as well. So that could have been what might have caused the quote-unquote sacrifice in a connection. So that's just a couple ways I could see that playing out. And for others of you, maybe you might have found that you and this person had different values as well. So maybe because of that, you might have sacrificed the connection. Because again, going back to 4th house, and 4th house can point to values you may have from your early upbringing. Alright, past energy on their side, they got even more cards. So they have the Hierophant, which is the major arcana card for Taurus. 10 of Wands, which is, again, Sagittarius energy like we saw for you. 7 of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. And Knight of Wands, which is more Sagittarius energy. So, of course, some of this could be pointing to the fact that you might have been dealing with a Sagittarius, since we see Sagittarius energy on both sides, but a few different ways this could be playing out. Now, like I was saying with the values thing, maybe this is someone whose values were different than yours. So, for example, the Hierophant, we usually think of tradition, right? Committed relationships. But here we see the 2 women. So, for example, maybe some of them might have had a belief that, let's say they didn't believe in monogamy, for example. So maybe that's where you realized, okay, well, the connection's great and all, but, maybe you do believe in a more traditional type of relationship, whereas they don't. That's one way I could see it playing out. But it looks like the attraction was definitely there between the 2 of you either way. And then maybe that's where the disconnect might have been with you guys. With the 7 of Swords here, doesn't really point to deception as much. The definition in this particular deck points more to, just not being on the same page and having to have a little patience to get on the same page. But with the Knight of Wands energy here, it shows that maybe that was part of the issue as well, where maybe you guys just, either you or they, didn't want to stick it out to, find that common ground. So either you or they might have left. So that's the tricky part with the Knight of Wands energy here. I could see that playing out either way, where you might have been the one that left, or possibly they were the ones who left. Now, another way this could be playing out could be saying that they were the ones who actually wanted to go the traditional route with you. They were trying to put that work in with the Sagittarius energy, which again for you is 4th house, and maybe that was the disconnect where you just weren't there yet, and you might have been the one who left. So either way, I definitely see that there was a pretty big disconnect between the two of you in the past. So that part I think is pretty certain. Just where that came from, I'm not 100% sure of, but hopefully that resonated with you guys. Present position on your side, we have the Prince of Cups, the Ten of Coins, and the Magician. Well, magic in this deck, but it's the equivalent of the Magician. So interesting energies here, and I do have to say that looking at these three cards makes me feel like for the majority of you might have actually been you who left the connection, and this would might have been the person who did want something more stable in the past. The reason I say that, Prince of Cups, this is actually the equivalent of the Knight of Cups, which is Pisces energy, which is your opposite sign. Ten of Coins, this is actually Virgo energy, the last 10 degrees of Virgo. And then the Magician, that's not a particular sign, but it does involve manifesting things, taking action, using your resources to, advance something. So to me, this could represent you actually wanting to make a love offer to this person. Now, as far as timing goes, maybe for some of you it would actually be during the Pisces new moon, which, even though this is coming up in the present position, given that this is a February reading, this could just be saying around the time of that Pisces new moon, you might actually want to extend an offer to this person, let them know, hey, I actually would like to have something stable with you, and you're going to put in the work to manifest that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, for some of you, it really just might have been that you just had some kind of family issues that you had to deal with, and maybe there wasn't clear communication about that, possibly. That could have been what was at play, where you just felt like, all right, I really have to deal with this, and you never maybe gave this person an explanation. But now that you got that taken care of, now you're in this mode. And I can see where that can make sense too, as far as a lot of last year we had Jupiter in your fourth house. So that could have led to expansion of family matters that you might have had to take care of. And now it's moved into your fifth house, which is a lot more of a romantic, playful placement. So maybe now that that energy is shifted, you're more able to come from this vantage point as opposed to dealing with the family stuff. Now, the present energy on their side is the Strength card. So, this is actually Leo energy here, the major arcana card for Leo. And what comes to my mind here is the fact that we are going to have a full moon in Leo this month. So, that's actually going to take place before the new moon. So, it could just be saying that for some of you, maybe you guys are going to have some contact around that time. It might be them who reaches out to you first. Because what sticks out to my mind here is it almost looks like she's trying to pry the mouth open there. So it could just be them trying to, again, so like I said, if you guys might have left with not much of an explanation in the past, this could be them trying to, figure out, hey, what was the deal with that? You know what I mean? And then maybe that opens up the lines of communication between the two of you again. And another way this could be playing out too, though, is for you guys, Leo energy is your 12th house too. So maybe that could cause confusion too, where maybe there's issues of trust between the two of you. Maybe you feel like, all right, I'm not sure if I can trust this person. So that could have been what was at play in the past too, that might have caused some issues. But trying to see if anything else comes to mind. Also, obviously, this means a lot of physical attraction. In some decks, the Strength card is referred to as lust. So that can just be saying that maybe when you guys do reconnect, that you guys will hit it off fairly quickly, and maybe even that this person's trying to be a bit reserved at first because, again, if you guys were the ones who left in the past, maybe they're still trying to feel you out and see what the deal is. So this could be them trying to hold themselves back in a way. Future energy on your side is the Ace of Arrows. So this is the equivalent to the Ace of Swords, and this could just be saying that either you're coming to a realization about something, again, maybe during these retrograde, during the retrograde energy, the full moon year 12, maybe you get some realizations around how situations might have played out in the past, and maybe a role that you might have played and some confusion. But in addition to that, maybe this is you finally giving them that information. So, for example, given the energies we saw in the present, like I said, it looks like you're coming back around like, hey, I want to make this work, right? Let's try to move this forward. And this person might be like, their approach to you might be like, well, where's all this coming from all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Like they might feel like, all right, in the past, you just up and disappeared. Now you're coming back around. What changed, right? So in the future position, this could just be you deciding to let them know, what you were going through at the time. So that could be what's at play there. And future energy on their side, we have the King of Pentacles, which is more Taurus energy. So could definitely be a Taurus that some of you are dealing with, since we did see the Hierophant in the past, and now we see more Taurus energy here. But another indicator that this could be pointing to is stability. For one, this could be someone that was at a distance from you, because for you guys, Taurus is your ninth house, and we have Uranus in there as well. But yeah, what this could be pointing to as well could just be saying that, maybe they're a little reserved again. So like I said, if it was you who left in the past, I feel like they might be the ones who are a bit more reserved, because if we look at their energy there, right? And then the feminine energy looks like she's definitely a little shy and reluctant, right? So that could be what's at play there. And given that you guys are pentacle energies yourselves, that could just represent you actually here and how they view you. And like, all right, I'm not really sure if I want to jump back into this with this person. But for others of you, if it was more the other way around, where they might have been the ones who, were the ones who might have caused the disconnect in the past, this could be them trying to come back around now. And maybe you having to communicate to them, like, look, I'm not really going to just jump back into this. But like I said, not to make anyone a villain here, but I feel like in the present, given the energies that I see here, it does look like you guys are the ones who are actually going to be extending the offer. So that makes me feel like for most of you, it actually might have been you guys who left in the past. So hopefully that resonates with you guys. And then bottom of the deck on your side, we have the King of Staves, which is actually Leo energy. So again, I just feel like this is another indicator of what I'm saying as far as there's going to be that full moon in your 12th house of Leo. And again, it could also be pointing to what I was saying as well, that now we have Jupiter in your 5th house, given that Leo's the natural ruler of the 5th. So maybe that has you ready to take action regarding your romantic life, or like I said, maybe in the past you were just more worried about home family matters. Interestingly enough, on their side as well, they have the Seven of Wands, so that's also Leo energy there. So can just be saying this could be playing out a couple of different ways. On the one end, it could just be saying that there's definitely passion between the two of you. If we think about the Leo energy representing passion, creativity, love. But on the other side, on the more negative side, this could also represent possibly an ego conflict too. So maybe that was what was at play with you guys at one point. But Seven of Wands usually does represent, you know, being in a bit of a defensive mode, but successfully doing so as well. So just keep in mind this person might still have their guard up. And potentially, if there was some kind of disconnect in the past where maybe you felt they were up to something, for example, maybe that's what comes to light, that maybe they weren't doing what you might have suspected. So definitely a few different ways it could be playing out. We'll see if the Oracle cards hopefully lend a little more clarity to it. So first, I'll see if we can get any additional messages from the Mystic Moon Oracle deck here. And for those of you who haven't seen this type of reading from me before, I actually do pre-shuffle this deck before I start recording. And then I'm just looking for a couple jumpers here. So first, I'll be looking for unspoken messages from you to them, and then from them to you. And if I shuffle for a while and nothing's coming up, I just take that as a sign to keep it moving, rather than just pull a random card. And for those of you who are curious with the personal readings, I always do pull cards for both positions. It just takes a little longer sometimes. All right. So first, we'll be looking for unspoken messages from you to them. Oh, got one there. And we'll see if we have any unspoken messages from them to you. Okay, got one there. All right, so let's see what we have here. We have something is still missing for me, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. So, okay. At the very least, I could see where that might have been the case in the past, right? So again, maybe that's why you quote unquote sacrificed the connection, right? Maybe you just felt that you had some other things to look at. Like I said, maybe you were just looking back on your home and family values and trying to see, do they still fit for you? So there could have been some confusion around that, possibly. But I do have to say, at least in the present, it looks like you're coming out of that energy because, again, it looks like there's definitely some openness here with the Prince of Cups, Ten of Coins, and Magician. It definitely looks like a pretty big shift. So, you know, that could be what's at play there. And to be fair, even in the future position with the Ace of Arrows, that could be something that you come to the realization. Maybe you do reapproach this person and try to get things off the ground, but still come to that realization that, there's still something missing that you're trying to figure out. So hopefully that resonated with you guys there. And then on their side, we have I feel badly for the way I treated you. You didn't deserve that. So interesting. So again, with the present energy here on your side, I do feel like for the majority of you, it's really you guys who might have left, and you're the ones who are trying to come back now. But I did at least say that for some of you, looking at the past energy here, with the Hierophant, Ten of Wands, Seven of Swords, and Knight of Wands, it might have been actually them who left the connection in the past. And it could have even been where some of them gave you the impression that they were all about committed relationships, but, it turned out that that wasn't the case, right? And then they ended up bolting out of the blue. So if that sounded more like your story, I feel like this is definitely where this this message would fit more. Or to be fair, for some of you, where if the wound is still a little fresh for this person and you reapproach them, and the Strength card in that regard could represent, maybe they really tear you a new one verbally, like seriously, you're just going to come back, you know what I mean? So it could be one of those things too, where maybe they, maybe there's a little bit of conflict there. Like I said, if that's the case, keep an eye out for that full moon in Leo. Maybe that's what brings that out. And then maybe after the fact there, they might, feel bad after the fact and try to apologize for that little outburst. So something to keep in mind there. But hopefully those resonated with you guys. And then finally, we'll pull a card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. Same situation here. I did pre-shuffle this deck, and then I'm just looking for one card here, and we'll wrap up. Definitely an interesting reading now for you guys. I'm sure that Mercury retrograde energy in your opposite sign is going to be a little intense, so just keep that in mind. Okay, there we go. You guys got a leg up. There's the artwork, and the number is 34. Okay, it says receiving help, delegating authority, interdependence. The Oracle's message. You've come to a point where going it alone is no longer optimal for you. Life has a way of presenting you with the perfect people to align with who can give you a leg up during this next phase of your journey. Help comes to you in all the areas of your life where you need a boost. The trick is to accept that aid so freely given. When you embrace interdependence, allowing teamwork and independence to commingle, miracles happen. Now is such a time. So, really, the only place where I really see that message, well, I mean, it can resonate with the main spread, but what I should say is the main point where I could see that resonating is when I was talking about how the Seven of Swords in this deck in particular represents, where you guys just aren't on the same page and not really having that patience to get on the same page. And then, like I said, with that Knight of Wands energy, it could represent that either you or they might have just fled from the situation, even though there was potential for something stable with the Hierophant. So that could be how it played out for some of you, where, maybe you guys are just so accustomed to doing things your way that you didn't take that time to bridge the gap in the past. All right, the relationship message says relationships that are healthy thrive on interdependence. It's important to recognize that you need others as much as they need you. You must allow people to support you just as you were there for them. This is a time to be vulnerable, to speak up about your needs, and to ask for them to be fulfilled. Trust. You will be met with kindness and love. Don't expect others to read your mind, though. Ask and it is given. So the one thing that comes to mind there is, let's say, like I was saying, if you, for those of you who might have had some kind of family issues you were going through, or maybe just issues around the home in general, and maybe again you just didn't communicate that to this person, right? It could just be saying that that's part of your challenge there, is to open up to them and, hey, let them know, hey, I'm going through this situation. Maybe that could have avoided all of this. And for others of you, if again the issue was maybe they just were approaching the connection in a different way from you, maybe instead of one of you fleeing, you guys should have just talked about, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and then maybe you guys could have met in the middle in some way, shape, or form. But hopefully, all that resonated with you guys. Like I said, it was definitely a bit of a weird reading, but hopefully, we made that into a little bit less of a mess for you guys. We'll wrap up there, and I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.